The 25th June 2026, the former President of the Republic of Somaliland, Mr. Muse Bihi Abdi, published a statement on his Facebook page that generated considerable debate both within Somaliland and in several neighboring countries. The argument of his statement was encapsulated in its third paragraph, where he wrote, I quote, "It is evident that the influence of the Muslim states of Iran, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia is growing. It is possible that these states may once again move closer together, owing to the increasingly pronounced disagreements between the leadership of the United States and Israel, differences that should not be underestimated and whose repercussions are likely to be far-reaching." End of quote. This assertion raises three principal issues. First, the former president appears to have overstated the strategic weight and cohesion of a bloc that includes Egypt, while paying little regard to the geopolitical sensitivities of Ethiopia, a country with which Somaliland has cultivated an increasingly strategic relationship. Second, he overlooks the significant strategic divergence and competing national interests that exist among the very states he portrays as a coherent geopolitical bloc. In reality, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Pakistan, and Iran maintain markedly different regional priorities, security concerns, and foreign policy objectives, making the prospect of sustained strategic alignment far more complex than his statement suggests. Third, he appears to exaggerate what he characterized as an escalating rift between the leadership of the United States and Israel, presenting this alleged discord as the principal catalyst of renewed convergence among Egypt, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Iran. This interpretation arguably overlooks the institutional depth and long-term strategic foundation of the U.S.-Israel partnership, which has historically endured despite periodic policy disagreements between individual administrations and Israeli governments. The fundamental question, therefore, is whether the former president arguments withstands empirical scrutiny before one even begins to examine the broader political objectives or strategic message underlying his statement. The bloc that the former president suggests could move towards greater strategic cohesion is, in reality, characterized by profound internal strategic contradictions. For instance, Egypt and Turkey have long been engaged in an intense geopolitical rivalry. Following the removal of President Mohamed Morsi in 2013, the Turkish government openly condemned the administration of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. A principal source of tension is Egypt's belief that Turkey provides political support and safe haven to the Muslim Brotherhood, an organization regarded as a serious security threat by the Egyptian government. Turkey and Egypt also compete for strategic influence in the Eastern Mediterranean, Levantine Sea, particularly over maritime boundaries, energy resources, and regional security. In addition, both countries have backed opposition factions in the Libyan conflict, reflecting their broader contest for regional influence. Relations between Turkey and Saudi Arabia have likewise been strained by Turkey's perceived support for Islamist movements, including the Muslim Brotherhood, which Saudi Arabia and several Arab monarchies regard as a threat to regional stability and monarchical rule. Iran and Saudi Arabia have been strategic rivals for decades, each seeking to establish itself as the dominant regional power. The rivalry is driven not only by geopolitical competition but also by sectarian divisions within Islam, which have further complicated bilateral relations. Moreover, during the recent military confrontation involving Iran on one side and the United States and Israel on the other, Iran launched more than 436 drones and over 36 missiles towards Saudi Arabia, underscoring the extent of the security tensions that have existed between the two states. Equally questionable is the former president's apparent exaggeration of the policy disagreements between the leadership of Israel and the United States. Such disagreements, even when genuine, are outweighed by the institutional depth and strategic foundation of the bilateral relationship. The United States provided Israel with a level of military assistance that is exceptional by international standards, Under bilateral memorandum of understanding, Washington committed $38 billion in military assistance to Israel over the period of 2019 to 2028. This decade-long commitment demonstrates that the U.S.-Israel relationship cannot be understood merely through the lens of temporary policy disagreements between individual leaders. The two countries jointly develop an advanced, sophisticated missile defense system, including the Iron Dome, David Sling, and the Arrow missile defense system, reflecting an exceptional high degree of military technological integration. The United States also provides Israel with consistent diplomatic protection at the international level. Since the early 1970s, Washington has exercised its United Nations Security Council veto approximately 50 times on matters relating to Israel. This long-standing pattern illustrates that the U.S.-Israel strategic partnership is deeply institutionalized and extends well beyond occasional policy differences between their respective governments. Furthermore, it remains unclear whether the reported disagreements between the two leadership represents a genuine strategic divergence or simply tactical differences within an enduring alliance. In conclusion, several important questions arise. Can it reasonably be argued that the former President Muse Bihi Abdi expressed explicit support for the geopolitical bloc comprising Iran, Egypt, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan, states whose strategic interests have at various times conflicted with the existential and diplomatic interests of the Republic of Somaliland? Conversely, does his analysis indirectly downplay the significance of Israel, which has recognized Somaliland, and the United States, a country widely expected to assume a greater strategic interest in the Republic of Somaliland? Furthermore, can it be argued that the former president's remarks overlooks Ethiopia's strategic importance to Somaliland, despite the memorandum of understanding that he himself signed with Ethiopia concerning access to the sea, while simultaneously portraying Egypt, one of Ethiopia's principal geopolitical rivals, as part of an emerging strategic coalition deserving favorable attention? These are the questions that merit careful examination if one is to assess the strategic coherence and broader implications of the former president's argument. Stay tuned for more.